Quince is a mess. I would say that's true, Taco. I've talked about this before. I think Quince is inherently antithetical to the Fantasy Strike design philosophy, and I'm surprised that he got through it all. Uh, but here we are. We'll see how things change. I'm still in wait and see mode with how these patches works. But I mean, like, you can't get around that kind of inherent design. Yeah, it goes against everything they said they made the game around, and they actually did a really good job of making their game around and designing it around this whole concept of clarity of information. The one thing about Quince which I think is interesting is subverting like the status quo is always an interesting character design in my opinion. I don't think they subverted the status quo with Quince. It's they just ignored everything. And that's a little different. Quince is about removal of information when it should be about ambiguity. I should be surprised by what Quince is doing, not confused. And I think that's where they really failed with Quince's design. You look at Makoto from Blaze Blue. She has a command attack that can go into a high, a low, or a mid, and she gets this little puff of smoke and she goes flying at you or she goes low. That's all really amazing. And whenever I played as her or against her, my thought was always, oh, that's surprising, right? It was never, I can't tell what this character is doing. It's that I'm never sure what they're going to do. With Quince, it's just, I can't figure out what this character is doing. The information is not there for me to be able to parse that, which is not fun to play against. Yeah, Quince out here throwing all the visual design clarity into the trash bin. Absolutely Frostelight. As Enigmatic points out, Satsuki's air parry occludes her a bit, but it's not so broken that they're there, that it's there all the time. Absolutely. I mean, I think they did the Satsuki's invisibility on her air parry in a really interesting way, where she like flashes in and out. It's not strobing, so it has a low chance of there being a negative visual feedback, like people have visual impairment problems and react poorly to flashing lights and such. You're not really facing that, and she's not gone entirely. It's intermittent. So she has her dust animation whenever she jumps and she's walking around, and she does flicker in, like flash in and out occasionally. You're able to track it in some ways, and I think it's a good middle ground of obscuring some information while making it still parsable. Yeah, like the visual stuff he puts on the screen is too much. I have spoken with so many players who are like, I legitimately either cannot play against this character because of a visual feedback problem, or it is like so difficult that it becomes an obstruction to even being able to enjoy the game on a competitive or casual level, right? And I think that is an inherent problem that you should be working away from. Accessibility will never be perfect, and no game will ever be designed for everyone. But I think you should try. And if it's just if as Frosty Light says, it's just not fun, then I think you're missing the mark. Ultimately, you should always be ascribing to the rule of cool, right? And the most people possible should be able to experience that cool. All right. And with that little tangent, let's get back into this Chavez and Mayo Paula match.